Hello, everybody. Well, it's a happy prime ministerial anniversary to Rishi Sunak because the Right Honourable Member for Richmond and Yorkshire, he celebrated 1 year as Prime Minister yesterday. So, time to offer him a report card, and I'm afraid it's rather bad. It's maybe like a D grade because he's managed to hold office for more than 49 days. Well, it's more than we said that for Liz Truss. And today he sort of surpasses the record of Alec Douglas Hume, the shortest serving prime minister of the 20th century. And what else can I say? So inflation's come down considerably, but it was going to probably come down anyway. He's rescued the United Kingdom from financial oblivion. Admittedly, there'd been a volte-face by Liz Truss right before she was forced out. So the finance has been stabilized. There've been no premature tax cuts. Obviously, unemployment is still very low, like 4%. And what major decisions has he made? Well, really to continue support for Ukraine. But that's not a big surprise. And then he's been rather too supportive of Israel and not saying, wait a second, come on, cutting off water to 2 million people is unacceptable. That's against humanitarian law and so forth. Now, obviously, it's right to condemn what Hamas did, deliberately killing over 1,200 civilians and so forth. So he cancelled HS2's leg up to Manchester, and that's surely the only right decision, bearing in mind the eye-watering cost of it and what you could get with for £36 billion. I was reading in Private Eye that the London to Birmingham leg is going to cost something like £50 billion, whereas a railway through Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and Poland, which is much longer, is going to cost £5 billion. £5 billion. Maybe it won't be as fast. I don't know. So the NHS waiting lists have got longer. That's been a failure on his part. No, he's definitely not stopped the boats or really made any progress towards that. So all that's been fairly dismal. Some cost of living things got a bit better, some have got a bit worse. House prices are down. And I think, overall, that's actually a good thing. And that's seen as a sign of economic ill health. But as house prices have had these inflation-busting rises for decades, it's good if a tiny bit of sanity is restored to the system. But the propertied classes and the middle-aged people and so on, who mostly those conservative voters come from those demographics, will not be pleased about their property portfolio going down in value. So there have not been too many scandals. Some backbench MPs, Peter Bone, and couldn't really come at a worse time. His suspension, I'm not sure how long it is. If it's very long, it may trigger a by-election. And obviously, the Conservative Party needs that like it needs a hole in the head. The Wellingborough in Northamptonshire was fairly safe Conservative, been Conservative since 2005. We've seen that very safe Conservative seats have been lost recently, 2 of them just last week. So anyway, Sunak is behind Sir Keir Starmer at the opinion polls. The Conservative Party is well behind, like 20 percentage points behind. But then again, about this time before the 97 election, over a year before the election, Labour was 30 percentage points ahead, and he won by 13 percentage points. So if Labour's 20 points ahead now, minus 17 points, they wouldn't be so far ahead in the end. They'd only be 3% ahead. But I think they'll be a bit more. They'll win by a bit more than 3%. I think they'll win more like 10 percentage points next time, which might not be enough for them to get an overall majority. I think they will get an overall majority, actually, but not by very much. So what chance that Labour is the biggest party after the next election? I give about a 90% chance. What part does they have a majority, as in 326 seats or more in the House of Commons? I give that about a 70% chance. So we shall see. So it's not been particularly successful, not just been as dreadful as his two predecessors, and he's not a pathological liar, and that is a small advantage. He's serious-minded, he's ebullient, he's energetic. All these things can be said in his favour. He's assembled a fairly good team around him, but people say that Suella Braverman's going to get a marching orders, or Braverman, whatever you call her, because she simply failed to deliver and overpromised. So Cruella is a hate figure for many. Now, Jeremy Hunt, there are rumours about him standing down next month. I don't buy it myself, actually. Given the straitened circumstances, I thought he's been a creditable chancellor. I didn't say an excellent one, but I mean, can you really pull rabbits out of hats? So there's, as I've often said, hoping that Keir Starmer's caught in bed with a sheep. So the king is just prorogue Parliament. And as everyone's pointing out, the first time a king has done it since the the early 1950s, since George VI was on the throne. These prorogations is sort of a standard one to prepare for the king's speech when he'll come to Parliament in all his regalia, accompanied by the page boys and so on, and the lifeguards and the blues and royals, these cavalry regiments in their cuirasses and whatever their metal helmets with the plumes and so forth, and deliver a speech in this neutral tone. My government shall introduce a new bill to gradually outlaw smoking. My government shall introduce a new bill on fiscal responsibility. My government shall, whatever, outlaw statutes or something. Statues, I should say. Like that, and that to lay out the government's legislative program for the next 12 months. So remember, the election has to be, I think, is by the end of January 2025, probably be called a little bit before that, a little bit before Christmas 2024. Remember, the last election was the 14th of December 2024. Methinks that Christmas shall come early for the Labour Party in 2024, about 10 days early. Remember, the election's got to be held on a Thursday. So, yeah, I mean, but Rishi Sunak, he can't completely blame his predecessor because, who was Chancellor of the Exchequer under Boris Johnson? Oh, yeah, it was Rishi. So there was a help out to eat out, and he had to bail out the economy, and that cost £400 billion. Bear in mind that the annual budget is about 1.1 trillion. So, something like 38% of that was spent on stopping complete economic collapse, even though the economy contracted 10% in 2020, expanded 10% in 2021, just bouncing back to where it was before. It could have been worse. And some economies like Germany is going to head into recession this year, probably not a terribly long or severe one. And the United Kingdom seems to narrowly avoid it. Yeah, there are just numerous problems on his in tray, and there have been lots of strikes. They're a bit less frequent. He has paid some public sector people more, and so on. So there's just problems on multiple fronts. They're going to cost money. And the Conservative Party is not going to tax the super rich more, which is really the only way they can source the money to help fund these problems, to pay doctors and nurses more or buy more equipment or whatever it is. I would think recruit more people overseas, have a more sensible immigration policy on skills, and just really fast track and streamline this immigration system to get the people with the necessary qualifications into the United Kingdom to resolve the problems that the UK faces. And there's a debt of honor to own some of these Afghan translators. And finally, the government under him has brought some of the Afghan translators who work for the British Armed Forces in Afghanistan from Pakistan, were there for a very long time, because the Pakistanis were threatening to deport them to Afghanistan, where they face the tender mercies of the Taliban. So some of them finally were brought to the United Kingdom, and that's over a year after some of them granted visas, actually even before his time at the helm. So, and Sunak, he seems to be someone of a very sunny disposition, what a sanguine sort. So you can see he was a real go-getter as a banker when he was with Goldman Sachs. But there'll be sacks of gold to make after he leaves office. But does he really need to do that? I think that'll be enough for conventional politics for him. So the people waiting in the wings, and they are wetting their lips for who is going to speak up to be leader after him, after the inevitable 2024 defeat. And as I say, Penny Mordaunt and Kemi Badenoch are probably the front runners. And the riders would be maybe Tom Tugendhat, Suella Braverman. Some of these people could lose their seats, is looking that grim for the Conservative and Unionist Party. Right. So Rishi Sunak, you got a year to prove yourself. Thank you so much for watching my channel. And make sure you subscribe on Patreon. Behind the paywall, there are thousands of articles and videos that are exclusively available to my subscribers. And make sure you donate with the most unexampled generosity on PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Toodle pip.